Hey, what's up, YouTubers? It's me again, Brian, aka Gamer 55551, and I am back with a video game review. And for this one, we're going to be taking a look at Yeast or Y Lacrimosa, Lacrimosa. Apologize if I'm not saying the name correctly. My spelling is exactly great. Of Dana for the Nintendo Switch. Also available on PS4 and PC and Steam, and originally released on the originally released on the PlayStation Vita. As far as the Yeast series goes, I never really heard about the series until till recently though. From what I understand, it's supposedly a long-running action RPG series that existed, I think, on the Master System or something a long time ago. For me, my first time ever playing the Yeast series would probably be in 2005, when I think one of the entries was brought over to the PlayStation 2 and later brought over to the PSP, the PlayStation Portable though. And surprisingly, it was a fun game. It was my first time ever playing an actual action RPG, and it is something that I sort of got into, become a big fan of the whole action RPG genre though. The PlayStation Portable version, wasn't bad, but the PS2 version was obviously better. And then I think there was another entry available to download on the PlayStation 4. I think it was a different entry as well. Again, a fun title too. Nothing big or nothing special, but still enjoyable nevertheless. So when I heard that they were bringing this game over to the Nintendo Switch after it was ported last year to the PS4, though, I thought about trying the series out as well, trying it out on the Nintendo Switch. And after investing maybe a couple weeks in the game, I will say, despite some flaws, or at least two flaws I could think of for it, I will say it is a game that I have got hooked to and have started and have enjoyed a lot more than I realized. So why don't we get started with the pros and the cons. So we'll start off first with the pros. And the first one I do want to say is the story is enjoyable though. For me though, the story obviously it's very interesting. You know, it's basically you get stranded on an island along with the other castaway after a ship kind of got struck by a squid or something like that, and your job is to try to find a way to get off the island. Along the way, you'll run into certain things, and that I haven't really gotten huge far in the story, but overall, based on my time with it, I am starting to like it a lot. There's a little bit of fan service in it, which isn't really all that surprising. It doesn't bother me at all, but overall, story is enjoyable. Nothing special, but I did enjoy the story. The next thing I do want to talk about, and this is probably the meat and bones of the game, and that is the combat and the gameplay. Basically, the game is an action RPG where basically, unlike say a traditional RPG or most traditional RPGs, where when you move around and when you touch an enemy, or if a randomized battle shows up, like in some of the old Final Fantasy RPGs, you basically go into a battle and all that stuff. Here, basically, everything is moving at a steady and somewhat fast pace, though. There's no you warp to a battle area or anything like that. It's just simply you see an enemy, you attack it, and also as well, you also level up in the game. In other words, it's kind of similar to what Diablo 3 would be. I mean, again, I'm not saying it's 100% completely following Diablo 3, but there are some similarities to it though. But I will say the combat is fun, it's enjoyable. I also found it to be easy to use as well. So for me, I enjoy the gameplay and the combat. And last but not least, I will have to say about the visuals, and I will say it's not that bad. I mean, obviously, when doing a video comparison between the PS4 version and the Switch version, though, it's clear the PS4 version is going to be a bit better. That said, the Switch version is kind of close to it, though. I mean, yes, obviously the Switch is not as powerful as the PS4 or the Xbox One, but I gotta give credit to the developers for making it as close as they can to the PS4 version. So overall, visuals are alright. I mean, they're nothing to write home about, but I do like that they actually put some effort into the visuals in this game. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll get to part 2, which will be the con. So, we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 2 of our video review of VIII for the Nintendo Switch. I'm not going to try to say name because I have a hard time saying it. Apologize for that. It's just a hard name, that part to say, though. So anyway, so now that we gave you the pros, why don't we get started with the cons? And there are really only 2 cons, at least as far as I'm aware of, based on my time with the game. The first one I do want to talk about is the visuals. Now, as I said in the pro, I thought the visuals were alright, and I thought they did a good job making it as close to the PS4 version as possible. And that's still a good thing. Having said that, though, at the same time, being that this is a original game that was released back on the Vita, some of the visuals and some of the assets still have a little bit of that PS Vita in it, though. I would assume the same thing with the PC version as well, even though I haven't tried the PC version out. But the overall visuals is that, I mean, it's not terrible, but you still see a little bit of the PlayStation Vita inside in the game when playing it, though, at least in terms of the visual side. And last but certainly not least, though, it is worth pointing out the game does run at a 30 frames per second. Compare that to, say, like the PS4 version and possibly the PC. Again, I don't have a PC or anything like that, so I really can't tell if it is. I assume it runs at 60 frames per second, but I do not 100% know that. But as far as between the PS4 and the Switch version, obviously the Switch version runs at 30 frames per second when compared to the PS4, which runs at 60 frames per second. Again, not terrible or anything like that. The game runs fine, though, but it is somewhat disappointed, though, that the game doesn't run at a 60 frames per second. I would have been okay with it if it, excuse me, if somehow they offered a graphical option, or at least push it to maybe, assuming this game runs at 720p at 60 frames per second, although I wouldn't be surprised if it runs at 720p 30 frames per second, though. I'm not a big resolution person, but it is somewhat disappointed to see the game run at 30 frames per second. Doesn't ruin the game, it's just, or makes it unplayable or anything like that. As long as if it's at a stable 30 frames per second, that's fine, but it is somewhat disappointing, though. One thing I do want to point out in terms of it running at 30 frames per second is that I did notice on some occasions, though, the frame rate does dip a little bit when certainly a lot of things happen on the screen. Although it is worth pointing out, it doesn't happen all the time. It seems the game, for the majority of the time, runs at a steady 30 frames per second. Unlike, say, other Switch games that ran like at a terrible below 30, like WWE 2K18 to be exact. So there are some occasions that I ran into where where the frame rate does dip a little bit, but it doesn't impact, to me it didn't impact the overall gameplay or the overall experience, though, so it is something worth pointing out. But for the majority of the time, the game stays at a steady 30 frames per second. Again, like I said, it's not terrible. 30 frames per second isn't terrible as long as it's a steady frame rate, but it's not going to be the 60 frames per second like, say, the PS4 version is. Overall, I'm actually having fun with this title. VIII is actually a very fun and enjoyable title. I'm starting to become a big fan of the whole action RPGs, and this is one game that I have enjoyed a lot, along with another game that I also picked up, Shining Resource Reframe as well. It's very fun. The combat is easy to use. It's enjoyable. The story is also enjoyable. Nothing special, but it is certainly enjoyable, at least for me, though. I'll admit, though, it would have been nice to see this game run at 60 frames per second, not the 30 frames per second. And I will admit the visuals are, they're all right, but they still have a little bit of that PlayStation PS Vita in it, though. But overall, it is a fun action RPG, and if you're looking for a good, an enjoyable action RPG right now to enjoy, this is definitely one I would recommend you try out as well. Along with also Shining Resource Reframed as well. And I definitely could see the Nintendo Switch actually gaining a lot of these RPGs coming to the system. I think that could be a good selling point for it, considering that it's a console and handheld hybrid. I think RPGs could benefit a lot on a system like the Nintendo Switch. So overall, enjoy the game. I would like to see more entries into the series, and here's to hoping we see more RPGs, whether it's traditional or action RPGs, come to the Nintendo Switch. Okay, this concludes this video review of VIII, Larson of Dana. Why am I trying to say the name? I have a hard time saying it, though, for the Nintendo Switch. And again, these are my opinion. What are yours? Have you picked up this game yet? Have you tried it out on the Nintendo Switch? Have you tried it out either on the Vita or the PS4 or the PC or Steam version? Which version do you think is better? Do you enjoy the game? Do you not enjoy the game? Do you think they should bring more games like this to the Nintendo Switch? Did you enjoy the gameplay or combat? Do you think the visuals are an issue? Do you think the game running at 30 frames per second is an issue? Or do you don't think does it bother you as much as a lot of people like to make it out to be? Do you agree with what I said in this video? Do you disagree? Do you have a difference of opinion? As always, sound off on the comment section below. Let me know what you think. And I hope you hit that like button. I would appreciate it. And I hope you do subscribe to my YouTube channel. Make sure you hit the bell icon as well for notifications of any new videos I put up. Also, feel free to share this video if you want to, and feel free to donate to my channel if you like. You could do it through PayPal Me or Patreon. Links will be in the description of this video. And I will see you again next time when I do another video. Hopefully that will be soon. Until then, from Southern California, I wish you all a good day then. Bye!